Good evening. Welcome to the CCI Coastal Virginia Center for Cyber Innovation Showcase. My name is Brian Payne. I'm Vice Provost for Academic Affairs at Old Dominion University, where I also have the privilege of serving as the Director of the Coastal Virginia Center for Cyber Innovation. While I perform those roles, like many of you, I am a parent of a 20-year-old and 18-year-old, and like many of you, I was also once like all of you, I was once a high school student thinking about my future career. So I see this from two different angles. I see this through the lens of what it was like as a young person thinking about what I wanted to major in and what I wanted to do with my future. But I also see this topic that we're addressing tonight through the lens of not just an academic, but a parent who's talking with my kids about what they want to do with their future. Now, I use the phrase or the word CCI. It refers to what's called the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. In a few minutes, you're going to hear from the inaugural director of the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative, who's going to tell you about the amazing things that are going on in this particular initiative. One part of the initiative is what we call the Coastal Virginia Center for Cyber Innovation, which is the regional arm of the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. And this Coastal Virginia Center for Cyber Innovation is particularly interested in workforce development and developing what we call the tech talent pipeline, in this case, with regard specifically to cybersecurity. And we're also interested in helping to support and develop businesses and economic development. Now, while I talk about business and economic development and cybersecurity, I would point out that myself, I wouldn't consider myself necessarily an expert in cybersecurity yet. I address it from a human factors criminological perspective. Indeed, my background as a professor is in studying crime and criminal justice. And I thought I would share with you that years ago, I was working on a white collar crime book that I was writing. And in this book, as I was writing about white collar crime, I wanted to add a section about cybercrime. And I was writing about viruses for my book, and I needed a little more information. And as probably some of you have done, when you want to learn about something, you Google it. That's what I say to my wife, Google it. So I Googled computer virus, and I got some information that I wanted to share. And wouldn't you know, about 20 minutes later, I had a computer virus on my laptop. I had to save everything, exit out. It was ransomware, actually, that I had got on my computer. And I realized what a foolish thing I had done. Now, very foolish to do, yet somewhere out there, there are folks that are doing bad things that put our cyber environment at risk. At the same time, we've heard people say that cybersecurity has a 0% unemployment rate. If you can do cybersecurity skills or practice the art of cybersecurity, you can get a job in many different areas related to cybersecurity. And I say this because you're going to hear from Luis da Silva, who is the inaugural director of our Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. He's internationally recognized for the leadership and innovation in wireless communications and network research. He has more than 20 years of experience in academia, including 17 years as a professor, the Bradley Professor of Cybersecurity at Virginia Tech. His most recent position, prior to being our director of the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative, was as the telecommunications chairholder at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland, and director of Connect, which is a comparable program to what he's leading here in Virginia. He's received numerous accolades for his work. He's published more than 300 papers and 2 books on this topic. And we are so fortunate to have Dr. De Silva leading our initiative. So Dr. De Silva, if you would please turn on your microphone and your camera.
So, hi everyone, and Brian, thank you for such kind words about myself and about CCI. So I want to talk to you all about CCI and just say a few words about this program that we have today that I'm actually very excited to hear from the various speakers that we have a little bit later on. And let me share my screen. I have a couple of slides that I want to share with the group here. So okay, so as Brian mentioned, I returned to Virginia after a few years in Ireland to lead this new Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. And that's really a statewide initiative. So Virginia decided to invest in cybersecurity and create this team of researchers from every university in Virginia and most of the community colleges in the state, and really establish the state as a global center of excellence in cybersecurity. And by doing that, to improve our economy, right? So to actually impact the economy of Virginia. So there are about 300 of us, and hopefully some of you who are now in high school and are listening to us today will one day be part of our network and will be researching these topics with us. We certainly are looking forward to expanding, and we need more people, and we need bright ideas. So we're looking for your contribution there. So today you're going to hear from a lot of people about cyber careers. So I want to say a few things. So one, the question of jobs is a natural one when you start thinking about careers. And as Brian said, there's basically zero unemployment in cybersecurity. There is a website called cyberseek.org that keeps track of job openings in each state and also in the country. And Virginia is among the states with the most job openings in cybersecurity. Today, they're reporting 5,000 openings. So we really need qualified people. And the jobs are certainly there to wait for you if you choose a career in this field. But if I try to remember back to when I was your age and when I was in high school, whether I would have a job was, of course, an important consideration. But I was also looking for a career that I loved, right? So I was looking for what would be the career that would actually give me a lot of satisfaction throughout the decades that I would be in the workforce. And I was really fortunate to become a university professor, which is something that I really love to do. And what I wish to every one of you is that you find a career that you like as much. So when you think about the cyber security career, I think there are a couple of things that may lead you to find it a good option to you. One is that we tend to work with very real problems, really everyday problems that we all face. Brian gave the example of ransomware, and that's a huge problem. During the COVID crisis, the number of ransomware attacks, often targeting hospitals and healthcare professionals, really has increased, and this is a really big problem. And then another example of a very real and very recent issue that we research and inside in CCI we are giving a lot of emphasis to is the SolarWinds attack. So some of you may have heard of this in the news. This was a very big, what's called a software supply chain attack that affected a lot of government agencies and a lot of companies in the US. So recently we had an event where we tried to explain to the general public what this attack was about, how it impacted our lives, and what CCI is doing about that. So that's one point I wanted to make, that if you follow this career, it's one where you're actually trying to solve problems that are very real and very contemporary problems. And the second point that I wanted to make today, and I think some of the other speakers will speak to this as well, is that cybersecurity is actually a quite diverse career. So it's not all about programming or about engineering, computer science, and so on, but actually touches on multiple disciplines. And there is a lot of potential for professionals that are fluent in cybersecurity as well as in another discipline. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We are working with a professor of choreography at Virginia Commonwealth University, and she studies obviously dance, but she's also interested in cybersecurity. So looking at, for example, how we can use the wealth of movements that are involved in dance to train artificial intelligence algorithms to protect people's privacy in what's called gait analysis, which is trying to identify people by the way that they walk and the way that they move. So, a professor of dance involved in cybersecurity. And another example that I can give you that I think is very, very real and very recent is how do we detect what is fake and what is real? So the two people that you see on your screen, one of them exists, and the other is actually a creation of an artificial intelligence algorithm. And you can see that it's extremely difficult to actually tell what is real and what is fake, right? So, and one of the things that we are doing in our research is looking at how do we detect what is fake, how do we differentiate that from reality, and how do we curb the spread of disinformation and misinformation through cybersecurity and the use of artificial intelligence. And to do that sort of work requires not only expertise in the technical fields of cybersecurity, but also in law, ethics, political science, communication, and so on. So we see more and more engagement of people from across disciplines, and I think you're particularly valuable if you are actually an expert in more than one discipline. And I encourage you to think about cybersecurity in this more holistic way, in multidisciplinary way. And I'll stop here, just point out that our website for CCI is cyberinitiative.org, so you can find more information about that there. And I'm looking forward to the program tonight. And I'll take us back to Brian and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Dr. De Silva. Now we have the opportunity to hear from one of the cybersecurity business leaders in our region. Tracy Gregario is the CEO of G2 Ops Incorporated. Tracy has expanded the company's footprint by emphasizing both innovation and creativity. Under her leadership, G2 Ops has grown at a double-digit pace, providing model-based systems engineering and security engineering solutions to a number of different groups, including the US Navy, the US Coast Guard, US Air Force, and several small, medium, and large businesses. She has offices here in Virginia Beach, as well as Arlington and San Diego, and they have grown in the past year. And she also has had her company notified of its second selection to the Incorporated 5,000 list of the nation's fastest growing companies. She has helped grow CCI and served on numerous committees, particularly the Blueprint Committee that formed the CCI, as well as regional committees for coastal Virginia. And we're very proud of her as an alumnus of Old Dominion University from our computer science, and earning both a graduate degree and a bachelor's degree. And Tracy, please turn on your microphone and camera.
All right. Thank you, Brian. It is just a privilege to be with each of you tonight. Our wonderful state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, is investing in you. We care about your future, and I'm a business owner, but the universities you're going to hear from tonight, we all look for great things from each of you. And it's a pleasure to be here. As Brian said, I'm a business owner. I live in Virginia Beach. I'm at my office tonight, right off Glen Haven Parkway. So I'm local. I've lived here my whole life. I went to Indian River High School. I attended Virginia Tech, and a proud graduate of Old Dominion also. I've had a wonderful career in technology, and I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about what Dr. De Silva said about types of things, just to open up ideas for you about careers in cybersecurity. What is it? It's protecting these devices we use all the time. Our computer, our phones, our network at home. The school has to be protected. It just goes on and on and on. The protection, everything that needs to be protected, and it's thinking about it. And just like you protect your home, we lock our doors. We might have 2 or 3 locks on our door. We lock our windows. We might install an alarm system. We might buy a dog, okay? So there's lots of things we do, layers of security. And cybersecurity is very similar, except it's for our devices or information that's available on the web or in systems. So it's all about thinking about, how am I going to protect it? It's not just one thing. It's multiple things that I need to do to protect my information. And there's lots of different careers available. Go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. So, traditionally, these are the types of careers. This is, I was computer science, as Brian said. So I was very technical, software programmer, database manager. I've done network administration. And these types of career paths, they're very intense. They require a lot of extensive training. And there's a certain type of skills needed for these careers, independent thinking, problem solving. And you have to keep up with new trends. Things change all the time. There's new operating systems that come out that we have to think about. And you need to understand how computers work. When you hit post on Facebook, what's really happening? How does that get to Facebook? Where is it stored? What do they do with it if you delete it? So all these things, have to be studied, and there's so many things to learn about how email is moved around. It's just amazing how you can send an email, hit enter, and your friend has it immediately. If you actually understood all the places it went, how it broke it apart, and how it ended up on your computer so quickly, it's just amazing. So these are the typical careers, lots of openings in this area because every company needs these positions. But it's not just about technology, as Dr. De Silva said. There's artificial intelligence, there's all kinds of different things, and the possibilities are endless. And I just listed a few things. Maybe you have an interest in accounting or money, working at a bank, healthcare, all right? The doctors, the nurses, everyone that works there has to think about cybersecurity. They're signing in to machines all the time. They're using all this equipment. Think about our port, all these ships coming in and out. Someone has to think about, what's on there. How are they being operated? How are they being navigated? It's all related to cybersecurity. So it's not just the technical, it's thinking about the people, okay? No matter what business you're in, people have to be trained, all right? So maybe there's a teaching job in cybersecurity, or maybe you're going to train employees at a company about how to protect their company's, information. Maybe you want to be a lawyer, all right, that focuses on the laws and how to protect this information, or how to go after the criminals, all right, that are constantly trying to break in and take information from us. Or maybe you want to develop processes and procedures. Everything related to technology is required process procedure. And what I mean is, if you want to, I'll give you an example. If you want to check out a book at a library, all right, you have to have an account or a library card. You have to return the book. These are all processes. And if you owe, late fees and things like that, maybe you won't be able to check out a book next time. So these are all things that someone has to sit down and develop. How am I going to use the library? How am I going to use these tools? So you don't actually have to know how to program or the database that contains all the books in the library, but you want to make sure everyone uses the library in a certain manner. So that's another type of career. So it's people, it's processes, and then it's also technology. Think about when you go to your bank, they have to protect your money. It's not just the computers, they have to protect you physically. They have cameras in the bank, all right? They have, sometimes they have guards, motion detectors, all that has to be planned. So maybe there's a career in architecture, that's related to cybersecurity. How safe is the building? Does the building need to be protected in a certain way? So lots of interesting things. When you go into a Walmart, you might use a credit or a debit card. So how are they protecting your credit, debit card, what you buy? Okay, because they're required to protect that information so that other people can't see what it is that you're buying. So the list goes on and on and on. Cybersecurity has a play in everything we do because of how we use technology. And then what are the benefits to a career in cybersecurity? We just described, Dr. Silva and myself, all the diverse employment opportunities. So you could work in the ship repair business, okay? You could drive one of the tugboats here. There's many, many, many opportunities to think about. It's not just programming. And then there's job security because the threat is real. It's only getting worse. Unfortunately, there are people that want to steal information, steal money, take what we have, and the threat's only getting worse. Or just play around and see what they can get into. So there's lots of job security in these fields, and then you really have to have a desire to be a lifelong student. What that means, you're constantly learning new tools. As new phones come out, there's new upgrades. What are the features? How does that impact, anything that you're involved in? And then a good news for each of you, the salaries are growing. A cybersecurity engineer, and that's one of the tougher jobs that require, a lot of education, but the average salary right now is $96,000. It's way above the national average of anything. So, if you have a calling to help protect your neighbors, your parents, your schools, there might be a career for you in cybersecurity. So just hoping that opens up to additional ideas besides just the traditional. This is my last slide. I just wanted to mention these because of the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative. We are working really closely with the universities that you're going to meet with tonight, because these certifications, you'll come out, you'll have a high school diploma soon, maybe a college degree. They're actually certifications that employers look for. So these are things when you're looking at curriculum or considering schools, you want to see what kind of certifications you have coming out of college. All right. Thank you. We all wish you the very, very best. Speaking for employers, we need you. Okay. We're excited that you took time to spend with us tonight, and we hope some of you find your passion and calling in cybersecurity. So I'll turn it back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Tracy. Now that you've heard from our business leader and our leader of the Commonwealth Cyber Initiative, you're going to have the opportunity to hear from our educational partners.